Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pickle Juice. As always, it's your boy Zook, and I am super excited to join you all here tonight. It's episode 10 of this bad boy. You know how we've been doing, bringing you guys some of the biggest, some of the baddest, some of the best professional pickleballers or people just involved with the game. And it's no different tonight. We bring you someone who probably one of the hottest players on tour right now. If you look through some of his more recent doubles and mixed doubles performances, you'll see a slew of podiums and wins. So without any further ado, I introduce you all to my guest tonight for episode 10, Mr. Andrei Daescu. Andrei, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be on the show. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
having me.
You're happy now, but I just want to let you know that I'm not going to start with pickleball, and where I'm going to start with you is with college football. And we
Okay.
got we got to talk a little bit about your Oklahoma Sooners this weekend and what
Okay.
happened to them against Kansas State. What happened, Andre?
You can still make the college playoffs with one loss. So it's just it's early in the season and they're still finding their stride. I'm sure they'll be doing just fine. You'll see them in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Do you follow them closely still
Yeah,
since you've left?
I still follow pretty closely. Yeah.
Football and basketball and tennis, I'm sure, or all the sports.
I follow mostly football and tennis. Yeah. A little bit of basketball here and there, especially during March Madness, but definitely football and tennis for sure.
What is the sentiment of Sooner graduates such as yourself since Lincoln Riley left for USC?
It's a tough business, and there's a lot of things going on, at that level. So he's done some great things for Oklahoma, and I think there's no hard feelings over there. There's a really good coach that came in that used to be part of the Sooners coaching staff, and those things happen, and I'm sure both these guys will be doing great.
Yeah, no, Lincoln Riley's incredible. Oklahoma's
Yeah.
incredible. The quarterback Gabriel he used to play at UCF. I love him. I think he's great. I think he fits exactly what Oklahoma is trying to do. And like you said, it wouldn't be a shock if at the end of the year we were sitting here and Oklahoma still had a chance at the national championship. So I'm sure we'll talk several times between now and then, and you'll be able to take this clip and rub it in my face in a few months if after
I sure hope so. It's an early loss, so those don't count too much. If you have
exactly. It's better to lose now than to lose later on, right? So that's what you have going for you. But I didn't start with Oklahoma just because they lost. Oklahoma was also, a place to just start this episode as it talks about kind of your first venture into the States, which then ultimately led you to why we're sitting here today, and because you're a professional pickleball player. And obviously, I made that entire journey so much shorter and sounds so much easier. But why don't we'll cover a little bit of the housekeeping stuff first. Why don't you take us back to even before Oklahoma? As much as you can give us a summary of everything that led you to go to play tennis with that scholarship there, take me back to Romania if you could.
So was born in Bucharest, grew up in Bucharest. Obviously, like you mentioned, coming from a tennis background. Played a ton of tennis growing up. Started traveling quite a bit when I was about 11, 12 years old, and played a lot of tournaments all over Europe and been training all over Europe. And Went to school back in Romania, but in the summers I used to spend quite a bit of time in Germany, play some league tennis over there, trained over there. So basically everything evolved around tennis. I got recruited to play for Oklahoma when I was 18, right after I graduated high school. It was definitely a great opportunity for my tennis career, but it was also a great opportunity for me as a person to further my studies and get some good education and still be able to, compete in tennis at one of the highest levels I can compete at, and just continue to get better at tennis and develop myself as a tennis player. So it was a great opportunity for me, and it worked out great from that standpoint.
Not to put you on the spot, but I'm always interested to ask this question to internationals, especially at the age that you came over, which is such an interesting age. What preconceived notions did you have, like, about either, American lifestyle or Americans in general? And then with you coming and getting your first experience in college, you had some extremes. What held true with that? And what did you learn about America that you didn't know when you came over?
Well, the the first thing I learned about America, and I kind of knew that it's such a large country. It's basically a continent, so it's not hard. It's basically impossible to generalize and call somebody an American, because somebody, let's say, from, I don't know, California could be very different than, I don't know, just throwing it out there, somebody from Alabama, let's say, and could be very different from somebody from New York, who could also be very different from somebody from Idaho. So it's such a large, again, continent, even though it's the same country. So you learn really to enjoy what every state or region of this country has to offer. They're all unique and in their own ways. Food is different in those parts. People have different perspectives in different parts of the country. So that was definitely one of the first things I learned. America could be very different depending on where you're going and where you're at and what you're doing and that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I enjoy traveling around college tennis provided that opportunity for me to go from, Oklahoma through pretty much all the states in the U.S., and really get to know some people in those states, and get to know, their culture and what they're about and all that. So that was a lot of fun for me doing that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about what you just said is a lot of people, they say one thing they like about being a professional pickleball player is it allows them to travel to different places that they've never had the chance to experience before. I guess with you being at a top collegiate program, kind of have had that experience in the past. Um, is the traveling now any different to the traveling then? I know you said each place is a little different. Is there any place that you've been to a few times now that really sticks out to you that you love?
Yeah, definitely. I've played a lot of college tournaments, pro tennis tournaments, and then a lot of pickleball actually too. We just played the MLP in Southern California.
Okay.
We played in Newport Beach, and that area is just, it's super, super nice. Being this close to the beach, having that kind of great weather all year round. People are super cool, laid back. Um, they're really into sports and outdoor activities. So I really enjoyed Southern California. I live right now in South Florida, and I think it's fairly similar in certain aspects. It does get a little hotter here and a little more rainy than we're dealing with a hurricane as we speak here in
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah. Stay safe.
But yeah, you can be outdoors all year round, and in this area where I'm at, people are super cool, laid back, really into outdoor activities. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very nice area. And I've traveled all over the country, so there's all sorts of areas I've enjoyed being into. Like I said, super different, from place to place. But every city and every you know town has something unique about itself that you just got to experience and enjoy. In terms of the traveling, it was obviously a lot more fun to travel around and do things when let's say I was in college, or when I just started playing my pro tennis career. Um, as you might know, traveling does get old after a while. But I still enjoy having the opportunity to compete, and pretty much every weekend. And if that's the price I have to pay, traveling a little bit, I mostly travel around the U.S., so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It could be a lot worse. I could be playing some other sports that would take me to some places much further away in different time zones and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a price I'm paying, but it's not that bad of a price.
I'm getting the sense that Romania is not as eclectic and spread out as the United States, where you're saying different people on different coasts can be different? Like, are these places? I know you're from basically one of the bigger places, if not the biggest place in Romania, but is every place quite similar?
It's not quite similar, but if you just to put things in perspective, Romania, for example, the size of the country is smaller than the size of Florida.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's why when I
See,
compare,
that stuff blows my mind. I gotta like travel more because that stuff like blows my mind. Just so you know, I'm from New York. I went to school in New York City. I still like live right around that area, so I'm traveled. But like my experience is, the big city, the bright lights. As we talked about behind the before we went live, I also go a lot to Southeast Florida, so I'm going between these two, major spots. And when I hear you just say something like that, it just now it makes sense because when I hear you say the answer, I can't believe how big America is. Like I sit here and I go like, okay, but how can it be like so much bigger than everywhere else? But to hear Romania is smaller than Florida, that's absurd.
well, that's why I always compare the U.S. with Europe. I don't compare it with a country. That's why I think it's fair to do it that way as opposed to just comparing with a certain country.
Being in Southeast Florida, I know that's one of the hotbeds of pickleball. You also said Southern California is one of your favorite places. You're well traveled through college tennis and now professional pickleball. Is there another two or three places that you think or would consider are becoming real hotbeds or capitals of pickleball around this country?
Well, Austin, obviously, as
Hmm.
everybody knows by now, every
Yeah.
a lot of the pro players on the ladies and the men's side, they're moving to Austin. There's a bunch of them already. They've been already living there for what 3, 4, 5 years now. So Austin is definitely a very hotbed. There's a lot of clubs opening up. Steve Kuhn, obviously the
Hmm.
MLP owner and all that. He's got a dreamland, and that's a great place where there's a lot of guys over there, really high end players, training over there. And he's got one of the MLP events there every year, and and there's quite a few guys moving to Austin just for training and competing and that kind of stuff. So Austin is definitely a hotbed. Um, you know, this area that I'm in, Southeast Florida, West Palm Beach, Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Boynton Beach, it kind of the last, let's say, 2 to 3 years, it just took off in terms of professional pickleball, and it's a really hotbed, and I'm very lucky to be here and be surrounded by all this really really good pros. So I think this is a very good place to be as well for professional pickleball. Um, and then you
What's
have
that like for you though? Sorry to cut you off, but I'm really interested in what is that like for you? Like you are one of the top pros in now what I would consider top five. It's tiers, so we could all nitpick what's one, two, three, but it's definitely a top five pickleball place in this country. Do people know you? Do people seek you out from around there to try and play pickleball with you? I got to think there's some sort of celebrity that now comes with the success that you're having. And I know you laugh and look, I'm not sitting here and saying there's paparazzi following you, but knowing where you live and people know that where you work and where you're at and how big you are in pickleball, are people reaching out to you in the area to try and get their hands on you?
definitely there's a certain level of exposure we're all getting here for sure, but we live close by the waters, obviously, so they get a lot of exposure, and the Johnson family is close by as well. So it's like I said, we're all a family here, we practice together quite a bit. And there's definitely the level of exposure has grown in the last, let's say, year to the last 18 months, and there's definitely people reaching out. And there's a league in the northern part of the county that I helped put together, and that obviously brings a level of exposure and brings people to the game of pickleball and widens their horizons to not just local pickleball, but pro pickleball and getting to know different players. So it's definitely growing like wildfire, and it's gonna continue to do so. And with that, exposure is gonna grow with it.
So I see that you're in your office right now,
Yeah.
and you're a tennis pro down in South Florida at.
Racket sports pro. So I actually do
Oh,
both.
see, that's
Yeah.
perfect because that's where I was going with this. That's where I
Yeah.
was going with this. I was gonna say someone who is in your spot doing what you do professionally, which I was mistakenly gonna say a tennis pro, and now being a professional pickleball player. How did you mesh those? But you yourself in your job title have already now taken over kind of all the racket sports at your club.
Yeah. So I work at Bell and Alice Country Club, which, as we discussed before the show, it's a huge private club here.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. We have about 20 tennis courts, 11 pickleball courts. We have a very large community here. It's all private. There are people who live inside the club and use the amenities and all that. So um, as as we've been talking about, pickleball has definitely taken off during COVID, and it continues to do so after COVID, and the community is just getting larger and larger. So with that, obviously the business need has developed as well, and we had to develop with it. And I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of a pickleball background, before the whole thing exploded, and I kind of went with it, and it's been a lot of fun in that process, and it's been a lot of fun for our members as well. We've been able to grow from putting some scotch tape and stuff like that on the tennis hardcourt to be able to accommodate maybe, I don't know, 8 to 12 members who would like to play the weird game of pickleball, let's say 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Now we got about an active community of about 200 players, and
Wow.
yeah, and everybody's really excited about it. Some of those members, they compete on some of the APP events, the PPA events. We're gonna have an APP event here in Palm Beach Gardens, actually, about 5-10 minutes away from where we're at. In November, there's another PPA event in Orlando at the beginning of December. So it's definitely growing. A lot of the members are playing in the interclub league. A lot of the members are playing the drop in every morning. We're all addicted to it, so it's just great, and it's a nice vibe because a lot of the pickleball players, they come from a tennis background, so they're able to play both and enjoy both, and it's kind of the same story for me. I still enjoy playing tennis quite a bit, but I also really enjoy playing pickleball. So it's a nice thing that happened to us 4 or 5 years ago when the whole thing happened, and
Yeah.
we're really glad to be at the level we're at right now.
So it's grown from the point of taking you from tennis pro to now racket sport pro. Is this game going to grow to the point where you're just a pickleball pro? Because that's how big it is and that's what the need is, and you have to be specified in that niche?
It's hard to predict the future, but like I said, I still really enjoy tennis as well.
Okay.
And then, in the job that I'm doing right now, I help with both, with growing both tennis and pickleball, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. I can't predict the future, so who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now. I mean, if you asked me 5 years ago if I would be, I don't know, traveling to play 15 pickleball events a year and be that into it, I would never think so, But like I said, the whole thing exploded, and when things change that fast, you just kind of have to ride the wave and see where it takes you. But like I said, I mean, I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now with both tennis and pickleball, and I think it's nice to be able to combine both. And I know the community here, it's kind of the same. They're enjoying both tennis and pickleball, and yeah, right now I think we're in a great spot. And like I said, we'll see what the future holds.
You just mentioned you playing a bunch of events. You love what's going on with how your how your professional life is meshing with that, and you have the perfect balance going on right now. And it also helps, Andre, when you're on a little bit of a run like you yourself find yourself on right now, tons of podiums, tons of outright wins. Can you well, I'll bring it up on the screen and we'll go through some of your performances specifically, but can you just take a moment to touch on, like, did anything change recently? Like, what's been behind this crazy heater of maybe the top 5 performing player in the world over the summer, I would say?
That's very kind of you. Well, what's changed is basically what we discussed before. The pickleball community has grown so much here at Bowen Isles, and they've gotten so into it, and that's allowed me to start traveling more, bring a lot more exposure to the club. I mean, the support and the energy I've been getting around the club has just been fantastic. The past 12 months that I've been playing more and more events, and that's really helped me, made it easier for me to just travel and play those events. Every weekend I get tons of messages from those members here. They're watching it online.
That's
Um,
so
they're,
awesome,
they're
dude.
being
So
very
you have like a
supportive.
team behind you.
Sorry.
So you have that's so odd. Like, so you have like a team behind you at Ballon
It's
Isles of
definitely,
people that are rooting for
yeah.
you.
Now the community has been very, very supportive. It's been great. So that's definitely made things a lot easier for me, and that's helped me play more events. And I think there's no way to go around match play. So the more matches you play, the more events you play, then I think the more match tough you get, and I think that's helped me, just kind of continue to improve and get better and better and have better and better performances as well. And yeah, I feel like as long as I do a good job managing my schedule and I don't overdo it, then I think I'm in a really good place.
No, I agree with you. Before I let you go, I want to go through some of these results, like we're saying, of this real unbelievable run that you find yourself on. I want to start at the earliest one, which I believe is here. So if we go to, let me make this a little bigger. If we go to the APP New Jersey, where you found yourself, let's see here. All right, there was no podium here, but then you came here and you found yourself playing with Miss Coop in mixed pro doubles,
Yeah.
and you had a silver,
Yep.
and then in men's pro doubles you had a bronze. Have
Yep.
Before this, was there many double podium events for you?
Yes, I mean that I've been I've been getting on the podium a fair amount before that. So I mean I have a terrible memory, but on the top of my head, I know I obviously got the gold medal in St. Louis with Kyle,
Yep,
which was a
here, I'll
huge
bring that
tournament,
up.
and that was obviously a lot of fun. We were able to beat a lot of good teams, and we competed really well together. Then I followed that up in Cincinnati with Zane, getting the gold over there as well. Prior to that and after that, I've gotten some gold, some silver and bronze medals. I had a pretty good swing here in Florida. I started the year really well with in Boca, getting the silver medal there, and then I got silver in Plantation as well. And South Carolina, we got silver as well. Eden and I, we lost to GW and Zane over there in a good match. I mean, we've been kind of in contention for the year, and it New York City. You said you live in New York City, so New York
Yes.
City, we had a great tournament there. We had a really good run. So yeah, it's been a very very good season so far. Luckily, knock on wood, I've been very healthy. Haven't had any major injuries. Just had to nurse some minor things, and hopefully it will stay this way. So I can finish the year strong and start the year. The schedule just came out, and there's going to be a ton of tournaments in January. So hopefully I can start the year really well as well.
You seem like a very humble and calm-natured guy, but I'm going to ask you this question anyway. Um, as you just kind of went through this list, it even started earlier than the dates that I had pulled up, and we're going through these runs that it was basically the whole summer you kind of dominated. Do you think you're underrated?
I don't think I'm underrated at all. No, I think
Okay.
I think the results speak for themselves, and you look, I had some good results and I had some bad results as well, and that's the whole thing about playing on the tour. It's a year round experience, and at certain points you got to be pretty high on your level, and at certain points obviously you got to be pretty low on your level, and you're gonna win some really close matches. And you're gonna lose some really close matches, so you kind of have to just ride the waves, the highs and lows, and do the best you can. And I mean, I've obviously done it with tennis before pickleball, so I I know my lessons very well. I know not to get too high and I know not to get too low. You just gotta hang in there, do the best you can, and yeah, as long as you stay healthy, I think a lot of good things will happen.
I think you're underrated. So I'll say it. I think you're very underrated. Truthfully, like this run you've been on is really incredible. Even a little detail behind the scenes for people that end up watching this is, um, this episode even started not because I even sent you like a random DM about coming on the show. It was like legitimately, I think I just messaged you because you had won an event and you were just on like this. You've just been on this crazy, crazy heater that coincided with the same exact time that I really got super deep into watching the pro game, not into pickleball because that I had gotten in like much earlier, but focusing more on watching the pro events each and every weekend really was May. So like if you're asking me like who the better pickleball players or who the best is, it's going to be tough to like argue anyone but you if you look at track record right just from May until now. And I know you're humble, but I know in your mind you can even agree with what I'm saying because the results are there and there's no arguing with them. But
Look,
as I go through the
there's
result,
a lot of depth in the game. There's a lot of
yeah,
really good players out there. It's not what it used to be. So
yeah,
there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of really good players, really dedicated players. So, like I said, it's good. I had some really good results, but like I said, there's a ton of good players out there.
a lot of good players, and I've noticed that a lot of your wins, which is cool. And another thing that sticks out to me about you is you've done it with a ton of different people. Is there a method to your madness, especially more recently, where we've kind of seen you hop around from like partner to partner? It doesn't matter who you're playing with, you're having success. For someone like that, who's like you, that kind of we've seen go through different partners for each tournament and just having fun. How do those conversations like begin, and how do you go about, scheduling?
People go about scheduling different ways. Some people schedule really far ahead. Uh, I personally haven't done so at the start of the year, and I maybe sometimes pay the price for it, but I've gotten better at it. I think that's why you saw me with a lot of different partners. I've played a fair amount of Eden, but he then got injured and
Hmm.
he couldn't really practice a whole lot, and he's played through a lot of pain and not really being 100%. So he's recovering right now as we speak. So I had to reach out to some other guys, and I've been very fortunate to, Zane was open for a fair amount of tournaments, and I really enjoyed playing with him. I did really, really well with Kyle, and I really enjoy playing with Kyle and his energy, and I'm really happy to be playing with him in the MLP now. So I think that's going to be super excited. And to be honest with you, I mean, Dylan is playing really, really well at the moment. So
Unreal.
Chicago has been a really cool experience. Yeah, we play very well together. We gelled very well together. So he played so well throughout the whole tournament, and he's been playing well. So I gotten a little bit lucky to be able to partner up with those guys, and I've played decent enough myself to to make those runs. So I think it's worked out great. Hopefully I'll do a better job scheduling partners for next year. Now that the schedule is out, we're starting that process, and yeah. But I enjoy playing with different partners, and I really enjoy the partners I've played with.
Do you find since you've really begun to each and every weekend play with someone different, do you find almost like an expansion of your game? Have you found yourself getting better because now you're not only making up for whatever weaknesses of the person that's next to you? If that person is the same, you're kind of doing the same thing over and over. What you have to do week to week could potentially be changing.
Well, one of the things that helped is that all those guys that I've played with are super solid, really good on the right. I don't think I'm bad on the right. I've played a little bit in the MLP on the right. I really think I can hold my own on the right just fine. But I think I can definitely do a lot more on the left. Um, and and I think that's helped. So each and every one of those guys had different strengths, and different things that complemented my game. Um, but I didn't feel like I had to do too many different things to adjust to each and every one of those guys. I think they're all really good, and like I said, they all have certain things they're very good at. And I was able to just gel with that and and play well with all these guys. With some of them, we swapped around a little bit as well. So I played some on the right as well, and again, it worked out just fine. So luckily, I think I can kind of move around my game a little bit and play all sorts of different styles, to kind of gel with my partner, and I think that's worked out very well for all of us, for all those partnerships I've had.
It's definitely cool as well for the MLP style of game. Like if you're getting used to being able to adjust on the fly and play with many different people and play with one person one day and another person the next day, to take advantage of that with MLP where some other people might be coming over. And we know some of the top doubles duos that constantly play together. Now they are going to maybe exposed to another style of game where they're not playing with that one person anymore that's used to covering, like we were saying, their weaknesses when they cover for the other person's weaknesses, and that's why those partnerships began. MLP is, hey, we're putting someone on the court next to you this game, and you kind of have, obviously you have a decent idea of the few people it could be, but it's constantly rotating, it's constantly changing who you're going up against as well. It's having that style. So the fact that you've found a way to do it and also do it well and succeed at it bodes very, very well for the MLP schedule. First off, coming up in Columbus and the expanded schedule that we know Brooks and Steve have talked about for next year as well.
Yep, and look, MLP is a lot of fun.
It's so fun, dude. It's so cool.
Playing for a team and having that team spirit, and I've been very fortunate to be in a team where the owners have been very involved and they helped us a lot. And you mentioned partnerships and being with a different guy, they facilitate a lot of training opportunities for us to get to town early and be able to practice together with the partners and really get that team chemistry going. So it's yeah, I've really enjoyed the MLP experience. I think it's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to hopefully playing more of those next year as well. And and yeah, I've also enjoyed that aspect of playing with different partners and playing against different matchups that usually you don't play against. Whether it's mixed doubles or men's doubles, I've gotten to play against some partnerships that I never got to play against, and I probably won't get to play again. So it was fun for sure.
Does it bring you back to the college experience of like that team kind of camaraderie of, I know in tennis and even some of the tours, other tours in pickleball, sometimes it's that individual game where, after the game you're sitting alone in your thoughts, you don't have anyone to talk that through, where MLP kind of brings you back to that, like you were saying, that fun spirited love of the game. Um, After your game, you have a bunch of people in your corner afterwards to support you or cheer you up, and then you have to go do the same for them. So you're invested in games that you're not even playing. Does it bring you back to that?
100%. It 100%
Yeah.
does. Yeah, and that's the fun of it. It's nice to be playing for something bigger than yourself. It's nice to have your team around, and you know, it takes away from that individual aspect. And I personally enjoy that. I know some of the other guys don't, but I think it's fine that you get to do that as a team. Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people that have said the exact same thing as you. So I'm sure there is, and you just said it yourself. I'm sure there's some people that don't like it, but it's just been for me. All the pros that I've gotten the chance to talk to have absolutely loved that team concept. One, it's just different than kind of everything else out there, and two, it brings you back to, like we just said, that the greatest time in your life, which a lot of us would say are one of the greatest times. or carefree times being college, which is fun. But so
for
you're
sure.
telling me that the Hard Eights have a chance in Columbus to take the whole thing?
Oh, that's what we both show up for. 12 teams show up. 12 teams show up over there thinking they're going to win it, and obviously there's only going to be one. But I strongly believe we have a very strong team. Our owners made some really good moves off season, and we have somewhat of a new roster. Georgia, obviously, she's been super super hot and playing really well, and so has Kyle and Sierra's. She's got a ton of potential. So there's a lot of things that have to go into making a deep run and a little bit of luck as well. But if we're all staying healthy and everything goes as planned, I think we have a really strong chance. Yeah, I strongly believe so. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, I'm really excited about going to Ohio and playing along these teammates that we have right now. And yeah, I mean the team we had before obviously was super strong as well. John and Susanna were very very strong players. We got fifth the first time around. We got third the second time around. So hopefully we keep moving up like we have been 2 spots, so we go from fifth to third to first now.
It's exciting and it's cool just for the reason that you said all 12 teams going there to win. All 12 teams literally having a 1 in 12 shot of winning. Could you maybe nitpick and say this team's the favorite over? You just look at any roster and you look at who's playing well at different times, and even with just the style of MLP being so different, it's gonna be crazy, and who knows who's gonna win, and the stories
No,
that are gonna come out of it going into next year. This, the rivalries that could start on the different tours, the different people playing with different people during MLP, and maybe realizing that they like to play with each other and taking that elsewhere and winning other types of medals. It's really going to do a lot for the game the more MLP we get. I'm always screaming more MLP, more MLP, more MLP. And I think next year we're going to get it. From talking to Brooks and some of the people involved, I think they know that we all want it. You being a player and me being a fan, our
we want
opinions are
to.
the same. We all want it. Um, but let me take you real quick before we sign off to talk about sponsors a bit because I always like to shout them out. Is there any specific sponsor that you want me to bring up and we can discuss and you can kind of talk about the story and how you got involved with them?
Definitely. I mean, you see the big S obviously on my on my shirt. So
I already have it up.
there you go. Yeah. So Selkirk has always been extremely supportive, and they've helped me out with pretty much everything I needed throughout my whole journey. Both Rob and Mike are, not just great leaders for the company, but just really good people. Like I said, always very helpful. Anytime I reached out, needing anything, they've been there for us. And this last line of paddles they came out with is just, I mean, they're just absolute fire. And I'm not just saying because I'm sponsored by them, but if you look around, there's so many other players that are using these paddles, and that obviously speaks volumes to how good the paddles are and how good of a job they did with it. So and I personally like their attire as well. They're everything about Circuit. I think it's they're running like a family, and I enjoy that aspect. And they're very creative with everything they do, whether it's apparel or paddles. And like I said, they really take care of the pros, and I can definitely speak of myself. They took really good care of me, and I'm really happy to be part of their family.
Of course, Selkirk is one of the brands in this space. Where yeah, you could talk about them for as long as you want, and everyone knows Selkirk, right? There's not much
Exactly.
that we got to say about them if you know and love pickleball. One of the premier Mount Rushmore brands in this
100%.
space. If you're someone who doesn't know pickleball, and you're just getting into it, through Pickle Juice and through this show, you look. I'm just gonna name names: Nike, all the big names. That's what Selkirk is in the pickleball world. So this is a
Most
brand
definitely.
that everyone is extremely familiar with. But yeah, all the other people that are sponsored from it by them that I've gotten the chance to talk with have said the same thing, that it's not just a company, it's like a friends and family, and it's cool because we're still in that spot in this game where it's growing, but it's still early and it's still small enough where you get that less corporate, more family and friends vibe, which
Well,
obviously for you is what you want.
their company obviously is huge right now. I
Yeah.
mean, being able to grow so much, and you definitely need a corporate vibe as well, which they have. That's why I think they're doing a great job with marketing. They're doing a great job staying creative and thinking outside of the box and finding different ways to grow the company. But at the same time, they have that personal approach that I think, in today's world, it's starting to, to diminish quite a bit. And I think that's why their companies, it's so great because it's got both ends of the spectrum. They're very professional and they're very corporate, but at the same time, they're very personal with their families, their players and their members and everybody. So that's what sets
Yeah.
them apart, I would say.
Yeah, and like you said, in this world, it's that's kind of diminishing, and people don't realize the value of just being nice to someone for no reason. Sometime, a lot of times you'll get back a lot more than you expected. Andre, though, I appreciate you taking the time. When I'm next time I'm down in Florida, I'm definitely, which will be very soon. I'm definitely gonna hit you up, and we'll make some plans to meet up. But Instagram, we can find you. Is there any other place that people can check you out, and what's up next for your schedule in between now and Columbus?
It's Instagram and Facebook, like everybody else. Those are the two main social media sites where you'll find me. I personally, I'm a little bit of a dinosaur when it comes to social media, but I've gotten better, and I definitely have some people helping me out with it. So it's definitely gotten a lot better, and it's going to continue to get better. And so I'm going to try to. I've been able to develop a decent following, and like I said, they've been very supportive, and I'm trying to keep them updated on all my projects and my tournament calendar and everything else I'm doing with pickleball. So definitely, I'll keep people updated there. If you're in the Palm Beach County area and just the South Florida area, I'm obviously at Ballon Isles Country Club. That's where you're gonna find me, and it's a beautiful club. And be more than happy to showcase it. Yeah, it's not gonna be a hard sell. Like I said, it's an amazing club. And that's kind of where you find me: Facebook, Instagram, and Ballon Isles Country Club. So yeah.
And on the live streams going far into tournaments, weekend after weekend
Hopefully,
after weekend, and
hopefully that's
we're
the plan.
praying
That's what we show up for.
and
That's what we show up for. So I have a few more events, to finish the year. I have the MLP in Ohio. I have I have the APP in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I have the APP in Mesa, Arizona, and I think after that there's a little break. But then in January there's the APP here in Punta Gorda, and the other two here in Florida. So happy to have those in Florida. It's
I
nice to.
know, yeah. I'm trying to go to the ones in January because I think I'm going to be down there for a bit. So I'm excited that the early part of the schedule that was released, the ones that are in Florida during that time, because I really want to start getting to some of these events, especially next year where there's probably going to be a bunch going on every weekend. So you just got to map it out and plan some, and it shouldn't be too hard to get to any of them.
There you go. There you go.
But no, thank you, my friend. And as I've said a bunch of times, I'm sure we'll touch base behind the scenes. And when I'm in Florida next, we'll link up and hang out, and I can kick your ass in some pickleball and show you the ropes a little bit if you allow me to. But
100%. Just make sure you bring some cash with you and you put your money where your mouth. No worries whatsoever. I'll be more than glad to.
Do you take Venmo?
Sorry?
Do you take Venmo or Zelle cash?
Oh, Venmo, Zelle, cash, checks. I mean, you name it.
Beautiful.
I'll be more than glad to get on the court with you and see if you can back up that big mouth.
Thank you, my friend. We look
My
forward
pleasure,
to watching you. We look forward to watching you throughout the next few weeks, and especially in Columbus. I know a lot of people are excited to tune into, but until then, I know you're not right in the thick of it, but stay safe with all that's going on, down there, and we will definitely talk very soon, my friend.
Sounds like a plan. My pleasure.
Have a great night. Peace.
Yeah.
That was Mr. Andrei Daescu. Please stick around. In 16 minutes, they will be back for an episode of the D Gen Huddle.